Let's have a chat with Hannah White, who's Director of the Institute for Government. Hello, Hannah.
Hello.
And thank you for being with us. It is an odd system, isn't it, where Labour's share of the vote barely increases, yet we describe it as a landslide victory, and quite rightly, on seats won.
It's a system we have, as you say, and I think what we saw last night was both the political parties but also the voters using the system that we have to get the outcome they wanted. So the reason that Labour was able to win so many more seats without significantly increasing its share of the vote was because it increased what is called the efficiency of its vote. It gained voters in places where it needed more voters in order to win seats, not piling them up as Jeremy Corbyn had done in 2019 in places where he was already going to win those seats. On the other hand, if you look at what voters have done, they have clocked that actually within a first-past-the-post system, it's not a case that you just vote as you would under a proportional system. You vote for the person you want, and that ends up counting towards the total number of seats for the party that you are voting for. They've worked out that actually if you want to get rid of a Conservative incumbent, as many voters appeared to want to do last night, you have to vote for the party most likely to beat them in your constituency.
But then does what we've seen, though, produce something of a democratic deficit if you've got a government with this much of a majority and the people saying, I'm not hugely enthusiastic for this party? That's kind of what this result suggests, isn't it? But at the same time, they have a blank political check, a mandate to effectively do what they want.
Yes, but everybody knows the terms of the trade under which they are voting under our system. And I think what's really interesting is the fact that we have ended up with 4 seats for reform. We have ended up with the Green Party with 4 seats, and actually, so the makeup of the opposition within the House of Commons when it returns on the 9th is going to be really interesting, because we've got, as you said, the Lib Dems on 71 seats, their most successful night ever. The SNP having been reduced down to 10, I think, but also this greater diversity of other opposition voices that will be there on that bench. And as I say, voters have kind of worked out how to get that greater diversity of opposition that they've wanted within the system as it stands. You can argue that the different system would be better, but then people would be working under those different terms of trade.
What about reform and those people who are attracted to reform, particularly the message from Nigel Farage that Westminster isn't working for you and we can be different? This kind of underlines that, doesn't it? Their cynicism towards Westminster, those people who might have supported reform, because there they are, 4 million people getting behind the party, and at the end of it, just 4 seats in terms of representation in Parliament.
Well, I think you've got to realise that actually success under our system doesn't only look like winning seats in Parliament. Actually, if you think about the impact which the existence of reform and the intervention of Nigel Farage in the election campaign of deciding to stand for reform, that has had an enormous effect on the policies and the positioning of the Conservative Party as it went into the election, and I imagine is going to continue to affect the policies both of the Conservative Party and the Labour Party. If you think about the number of seats in which the Reform candidate came second, even though a Labour candidate won, actually awareness of what the policies are that reform is espousing and the number of people who voted for reform will be very much at the forefront of the minds of Conservative and Labour MPs, despite the majority that Labour have won.
Just a quick final one, because obviously proportional representation would have a big difference, but Labour would have no interest in changing the electoral system now, would they?
This is the problem with our system. Once you have a system, if you win under the system, it suddenly looks very unattractive to change it.
Yeah, that's it, isn't it? Okay, thank you. Thank you very much indeed. Appreciate you coming down. That is Hannah White, Director of the Institute for Government.